Hey, Mavericks, welcome to the show. This is the podcast for creative entrepreneurs. We're here to help you have fun being a business owner because you started a business to have a life you love. And there are countless ways to get sidetracked from that, from trendy tactics to some pretty bogus long-held beliefs about what success is supposed to look like. And this podcast is all about bringing you back to what matters, you. Your life, your work, and the legacy you want to create. In this show, you'll get pep talks and practical tools that help you grow and run your business in a way that feels good to you. This is the Be Brilliant in Your Business podcast. Here we go. It is time to play Love Your Business Bingo. If this is brand new to you, if you're just tuning in, a quick introduction. We are playing this game to help you be more energized, inspired, and in love with your business. So we're playing the game live together for prizes all season long, but you can join in and play along with us at any time, and you will win the gift of loving your business. Go to lindsaybrownson.com/bingo to download your bingo cards, get all the rules of the game, and then be sure to listen in to episodes 109 through 112 to hear the other bingo challenges and to play along with us. Your bingo challenge for this week is to share any of the bingo challenges that you've been doing on Instagram. Share it with other people because fun is contagious. So if you're playing this game with us real time right now, we've had 4 challenges so far. I'll remind you what these first 4 are. The first one was find your parallels in nature. The second one is make art with your mission statement. The third challenge is to style your desk and make it beautiful and inspiring. And the fourth challenge is to wear something that delights you. Tune into each of those episodes and hear more about what that challenge encompasses. But take it to Instagram, share what you have been creating in a post, a reel, a story, and I'm hoping that this challenge will inspire you to inspire other people and inspire me too. I want to see it and I want to have fun right along with you and play this game with you. So I would love for you to tag me at Lindsay Brownson for your challenge this week. My guest today is Jo Pham. She is the founder of The Social Party, a full-service social media agency for business owners. We talk about her business name in just a moment, so I don't want to spoil anything here, but I will just say that Jo is one of the most effervescent people I know. I always feel a little bit lighter and more enthusiastic after being around her. And yes, she did inspire this week's bingo challenge of being on Instagram. So thank you for that, Jo. Jo has been a client of mine. She is a little bit of a unique client for a couple of reasons. And one of these reasons is that she and I started working together before the end of her first year in business. She came to me at a moment in her business that is very similar to when most of my clients do. But she encountered this moment a lot earlier in her business than what I typically see. And so what I learned from Jo really got me thinking about why she's able to move so quickly, because it is not that she works harder or more than other entrepreneurs do. I mean, she certainly does quite a bit, but it's not different than what other entrepreneurs do. What it really has to do with is her mindset and her ability to process emotions, difficult emotions, and make decisions very quickly. The kinds of decisions we're talking about can stunt entrepreneurs for weeks, months, even years. I am definitely speaking from personal experience here. And so I wanted to share it with you. Jo faced many challenges while we were working together, and I was continuously amazed at how we could work through something and then she would be so far past it, decision made, moved on. She's already grown the business in some way the very next time we met, which is the next week, right? So I do really admire her for this, and I want to give her props on being that kind of person. But the reason I am telling you this is because it is a good reminder that when we encounter problems, disappointments, and even opportunities, things that are really good but scare the crap out of us or overwhelm us, all of that stuff happens to all of us, right? But what matters is that how we think and feel is going to determine if we will move forward quickly or if we will get stuck. And again, personal experience, I have always been the type to get stuck. And I see this, I think it's so normal for us to get stuck. We all get stuck at some point, right? But I think Jo is just a great example of someone who doesn't really get stuck for very long. And it's because of how she's thinking and feeling. So I really wanted to have her on the show because I think she's a great example of someone who has a lot of fun with her business. And she's really been willing to stretch herself and surprise herself with what she is capable of. So in our conversation, we talk about a few things. One is just the overall experience of shifting from being the primary agent to being a manager of people, hiring, managing people, and learning how to let go of controlling everything, right? She has a social media agency now, but she didn't start out that way. She started out as a single person running social media for a handful of clients. So we talk about that whole shift in changing identities and what that's looked like for her. We also talk about an opportunity that presented itself and how she made the decision to pursue it and the impact that it has had on her business. Again, I don't want to spoil anything here, but I will just tell you she's grown exponentially even in this year. And it's because of this one opportunity that she really leaned into. So I think it's super encouraging to hear how she was thinking about it and making that decision. She also shares how one client in particular has been her very willing test case, how she's really been able to design a great service from serving just this one client really, really well. And if you are a service provider, this is absolutely a stellar piece of advice. It's one of my favorite pieces of advice to give small businesses, service providers, because whether you ultimately want to scale your service from, 1 people to 10 people, or you're really trying to get from 1 person to 1,000 people, actually building it alongside one client or even a couple of clients, that is going to help you create a true 5-star service at every level. So I love that she did that, and I pick her brain a little bit about what that looked like. I hope that you enjoy my conversation with Jo. Here we go. Hi, Jo.
Hi, Lindsay. Good to see you.
You too. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Honored to be here. I really am.
I wanted to have you on this season particularly because our theme is love your business. And I know that you are a person who really loves your business. And I also know that it was kind of a journey for you to get to where you are today. So I want to do a couple things with you while we're here. First, I really want to congratulate you and celebrate you for this amazing business that you have. And then I want to be able to talk a little bit about what that journey looks like and some of the things that you did to get to where you are today. So are you game?
I'm so excited. Let's do it.
Okay, awesome. So first thing, tell us who you are. Tell us a little bit about you and your business.
Yes. So I'm Jo. Hello, everybody. I'm Jo, and I am the CEO and founder of The Social Party, which is a social media agency for business owners. We partner with local business owners, but now also introducing, we'll talk about it more, remote clients as well outside of the Bay Area, which is where we are headquartered here in Oakland, California. And so we've been going for 2 years now. We just celebrated our 2-year anniversary and looking ahead for all that's in store for year 3 and beyond.
Amazing. Okay. And so you do social media marketing, but you're really particularly good at a couple of things. Tell us what your expertise is.
So we specialize in Instagram, social media marketing specifically, and wherever that's repurposed. So also to TikTok, to Facebook, Twitter, wherever you want to repurpose it. So we cover everything. We are definitely a full service agency. We cover everything from strategy to content planning, all the way to content creation, all the way to publishing and content execution as well. So really everything from beginning to end.
Awesome. I love it. And so the company name, The Social Party, I think is really apropos because, and the reason I brought up your specialty too, is because your brand is really fun. And I think something that you do that's so brilliant is that you bring that element of fun and playfulness and just humanness into all of the brands that you work with. And I think that's something that sets you apart so much, especially now because Instagram is really heavy on reels and stories and things that have these personable, fun moments. And you're so good at creating moments. Would you agree?
Thank you. I mean, when it came to picking a name, I'm like, look, we're in social media, but I think just, everything you build is always attached to yourself. So you're always going to have an essence of who you are in it. And I think definitely if you are a family member or a close friend of mine, like the common theme is Jo is the life of the party or Jo's a party. She's a good time. And I don't know. I just have believed that there's no other way of doing life than to have fun while you're doing it, whether that's in your personal life or whether that's even while you're building a business. Like, yes, it's going to be hard and there's going to be challenges, but how do you always incorporate fun in the essence of it while also creating real action and impact in the midst of it?
Okay, so one thing I want to highlight too is that you mentioned that you're an agency. So you have that particular business model. And that's been part of this evolution of your business too. So you started the company as the social party, knowing that you wanted to take it in this direction. It comes to mind for two reasons. One, another piece of just congratulating you and celebrating this is that it's actually a party now. It's so fun to see some of your recent reels and stories.
A party now, yeah.
Yes. You've got all of your team members dancing and playing, and you can see all these different faces, and it really feels like that party energy that you wanted to bring.
Yeah, you said it better than anyone else. It's funny because, when I started, I was like, this is going to be called the social party. But really, it's a party of one. But no one needs to know that. But also to your point, like, I think that's been, for me, like at the helm of it, the coolest part to really look up and see just that visualization actually be a reality of like, no, this is actually a party now. The clients represent a part of the party, but also the team that we've built, the content team. It's like, it's really starting to come together. And I think the coolest part is being able to look up and truly see that there are people who are not only a part of the party, but believe in it as well. And so that's been special. So you read my mind and where my mind has been at in this reflective state going into year 2. For sure.
But it really is, I just want listeners to hear this because we're all small business owners. We're all at different places in our journey. And not everyone, certainly not me, is able to get to this level that you're at within 2 years of starting up their business. And so it is a really special thing. And that's why I want to make a big deal about it. But I also really like to share it with listeners too, because wherever you're at, like this is completely possible. And I want to talk now about this journey. We'll dig into a few of the pieces that I think are kind of special to highlight. But when we met, so we met about a year ago, right? Is that
2? I don't know. I just talk to you. I just say, however old we are as a business, that's how long the relationship is. Because I think it was, it was in the first year. I would say it was like month 6 to 9 in that mark.
Okay. Yeah. You were right.
Infancy, newborn stage.
Okay. So when we met though, your business was established. Things were going pretty well for you. You're very busy and like rapidly ramping up in terms of client work and new opportunities. But what wasn't working? What was the reason that you initially reached out?
Yeah, I love that you say established. That's such a a flattering word to describe where I was. Because I'm like, well, say established, I'm not sure. But busy for sure, but busy, not having to be as busy as I was because I had not met you yet. And at that point, it was definitely month 6 going on month 9. So it was like definitely past the launch phase. And it was like, I'm in the deep end. And I either swim back to the shallow end or I keep swimming. But if I keep swimming, I need to do it differently. And I need to bring in a swim coach to get to the next checkpoint because I'm drowning. And that's the most accurate visual portrayal I can give you. And again, every business owner, the most common things we have in common is like, every business owner, you launch out and you have an idea that you're excited about. You have an idea that you're passionate about, and you need that passion and you need that excitement and you need that fire to your step to get you started. Like you need all of that to start. Because if you don't, then maybe it's time to go back to the drawing board to reassess if like this is the right idea. But every business owner starts there with excitement and passion. But I feel like once you get to that 6-month check part, things get hard and you are now in the deep end and you start with the right intentions, but it's up to you as a business owner to really tap into being in a space where you are humble enough to learn and almost feel like you're back to school, whether it's business school or whatever that may be, because there's so many things that people can prepare you for before you start. But once you start, it's like no one can prepare you for what it truly takes to start a business, because there's so many nuances and details that just come at you, and you just have to face it head on. And that's kind of where I was. I was like, okay, I'm going to start a social media agency. I know how to do social media. I have a few clients to start with, to really, launch out with. And on the business side, I'll just kind of figure it out as I go. But I would say like, that's oftentimes, I would say like the element that takes out business owners so early on is the element of not knowing what you don't know, because that's never like, I don't think I can do it. I don't think my skills are strong enough, or I don't think that my clients don't like me. It's always the intimidating factor of actually creating a business structure to sustain your craft that I feel like is the most daunting element. So that means workflows, systems, taxes, structure, client onboarding experience. It's the actual framework that builds and creates a safe house for your craft to actually survive, because it's not enough in itself to just be good at what you do. It's actually having some sort of business structure to sustain and create like this moving vehicle for your business to move forward in. And I would say that's where we started a relationship. It was like, okay, I know that I'm good at what I do. I know that clients love me, but I am doing a million things and I don't even know where to shift my priority. I don't know what is a priority, because everything is screaming at me that it's a priority. And I just feel like I'm so stalled because it's overwhelming. And I think in that overwhelm, it was like, I knew that I wanted to keep going and I wasn't going to quit and turn back. But I knew that if I had any chance to keep going and keep swimming, I needed a swim coach, as I said. And that's when I found you. And it was my designer who connected me to you. So I love the power of connection and being in community. But I remember even when I was looking you up, I'm like, what does this mean? I'm a business coach. I'm like, what does this mean? Like, I've never even looked into this industry. I'm like, is this real? Like, how impactful can this be? And had so many questions. But I remember our first call, which was set to be 30 minutes, I think it ended up being like an hour going over, and I'm sure we could have kept going, but I had to like hop off. But I just remember feeling so just understood, so seen, just like, so everything that made me feel crazy that was bottled in my head. It was the first opportunity where I had a real conversation where someone cared about all of the mess and pain points in my head and asked all the right questions for me to have a glimpse of hope of like, okay, this is kind of normal then. Like, I'm not crazy. And you're telling me there's like a lifeline to pull me forward. And in all of that, I was like, look, I don't know what this is going to look like, but I just knew in that first conversation with you that I needed this lifeline to keep going. And yeah. And so I was like, let's do it. Let's start working together. And 2 years later, here we are, still swimming.
Still swimming. Yeah. I love that you mentioned the infrastructure and just kind of feeling, I think that's so relatable to people, feeling like you're definitely at a point where you can't keep doing things the way that you've done them, but you have no idea how else to do them. It's kind of that they were like, I love your visual of swimming and drowning, because you are looking both directions. You're like, neither one of these is going to work for me. So I need to start building some infrastructure. I need the bridge to get over to the island.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. So you mentioned that just kind of like creating some infrastructure, some systems, putting things in place to figure out what you were prioritizing, how you wanted to work on things in particular. Do you remember like what were some of the tactical pieces that we put into place, or what were some of the changes that we had made initially?
For sure. I think it was definitely looking at all of the current non-existing systems and operations. I think it was like, because I remember and I remember I was so sick on that call too, but I was like, I'm trying to be friendly. But I think it was like a 6-hour deep dive day. And we just like tackled everything. And I just remember you're like, okay, brain dump time. Tell me everything when it comes to your services, your systems, all of this. And I was like, how do I tell this woman that I have no systems? But, and so I think it was all of that. It was like, what's your current, sales process to day one? What's your CRM? And I'm like, what's a CRM? And you were the one that got me on Dubsado, and I use it to this day. And so it was like a deep dive into everything. Cause up until that point, it was like, I just started and I was like, we're just gonna, make do what we can. And we're gonna, a client contract. Sure. Let me just Google something. Or like, oh, a day one pitch. Let me just make something on Google Slides. Like I was only building stuff based on the needs that presented itself as I was moving towards day 1 to 6 months. And so up until that point, it was like, okay, how are you currently operating? Which is very scrappy. And what do we need to implement in terms of systems, platforms, workflow, and, what are the deadlines to get there? So it was, where are you currently at? Where do we need to be? And let's actually now build towards that.
The scrappiness too. Again, I think so many people are going to hear this and be like, oh, okay. It's finding that balance because it's amazing that you have the resourcefulness and this is the global you. You all have the resourcefulness to build things as you need them. I think that's such a great entrepreneurial mindset to take where it's like, I'm going to put myself out for things that are bigger than who I am today because I know that I'll be able to figure it out as I go. And you do want to keep that and really foster that mentality too. But you also recognize that you get to a point where it's going to be more effective for you to start building that bridge before you actually need to cross it. And so, yeah, I love that just the way that you're describing, like how we started to put things in place for you that were out ahead of you. They were there to support this future of the business instead of you having to be the person literally building the bridge brick by brick every day as you were crossing it. And we're like really going deep on this metaphor now.
I love it. It.
Yes. Okay. So you knew that you were good at what you did. You felt like you just didn't have the big picture sense of where you wanted to go, what you needed in place to support the business. And I think another thing too, that just from my perspective that I want to point out is that you really had this entrepreneur hustle mentality of like, I'm going to say yes to everything. I'm going to take it all on myself. And I remember you really being in a position where you had already named your company The Social Party. You already knew that you wanted to go into an agency model and you wanted to go that direction, but you were very closely holding on to this, like, I'm the party. People expect me to be the person who shows up to do this thing. People want to talk to me when they're in the sales process. Do you remember that too? That kind of like not quite willingness yet to let go of things, even though you knew that you wanted to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, vaguely. I'm like, I feel like that's still my current self. Yes.
New levels of it.
Yes.
Yeah. Really like getting into the place. I mean, look at today though, having this full-time person and your agency of contractors and people who are readily involved in the day-to-day of the business. And the starting point of really saying like, oh, I can see that's what I want someday, but I have no idea how to get there because even just internally, that feeling of, I have no idea how this could be my vision and my baby. And this, this great thing that we've created for clients, how it could be that way if I'm not the one doing all of the things.
Yeah. It's nice that you say that because as you're saying it, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember what you're talking about. But it's true. And I think I remember we built out a dream model of like, in a perfect world, thriving agency, like where would you sit and who are the key players that you would need, while also being well aware that at some capacity I have to still be involved in it because it's a service-based industry. Service-based means it's humans serving humans. And if people are onboarding because they are familiar with me and this is where the relationship is starting, like there's still a fine line of being involved for comfort, trust, security, while knowing that, hey, whoever I bring on or bring into the fold is, if not better than me, but also like we're going to work in tandem. I'm still going to be involved, but like you want this person in it if you want an effective account, and really setting them up for success to know that like you're not just getting like the least version or plan C or whatever that may be, but like, no, whoever we bring in, top quality, top talent, and we still are in partnership, I will stay high level and still do strategy and really be a part of the entire process. But that's a part of the model, is like we have a team of talented creatives who are specializing in specific things in photography, in design, in videography. And I think in any business owner, well, I'll just put my name to it. I won't throw, but like, I think there is a point where you have to let go of control as well. And especially if like your name is on it and it is your baby and it is sacred to you, like you should always have that so that you know, care enough to make sure that you're covering all the details. But like, there's a famous quote, I'm going to butcher it, but if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go together. And I'm like, I do want to go far, but I want to go fast. So what's the middle ground? And yeah, I think also say is now that I'm here, which is like, when you were saying all that, I'm like, wow, you really took me back. Cause I remember all those concerns and fears in those early sessions, but now being here, I'm like, I say that my full-time hire is the best decision I've ever made. And it's only been 3 weeks, if that, really working together, because I can truly and presently enjoy the process so much. Meaning she's owning her plate, I'm owning mine. But like when there's wins, we celebrate together. When there like challenges, it doesn't feel like the end of the world because it's just on me to carry. And that, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I'm out of that space, because that would be like, that's a whole conversation itself. But that would always feel so daunting. Like if a client had a feedback that was anything but you're awesome, like I would take that so hard, even if it was like, hey, this graphic, can we just change the color? Like simple. Like now that when we get that, I'm like, cool, oh great, let's change the color. And it's not even a point that I dwell on. But before, when it was just me and I was carrying the weight by myself, I would feel like, oh my gosh, I picked the wrong color. They probably don't trust me any, like just this whole toxic mentality, because I was holding on to everything by myself, that everything was so much more sacred than it needed to be. And also say is that like, I'm just enjoying the ride so much more because I have someone like here full time with me carrying it. So I don't even remember what the question is, but also say, okay, yes, I do. Is that, yes, it is possible. I think when you start out on your own, it seems impossible to even think about growing the business beyond yourself, but it is possible. There will be a season where you have to let go of control and have a humbling moment. But once you get to this place where I'm out on the other side, it's like, it's the best learning lesson that I could have walked through, because I like myself more and I like the business so much more being on this side of it. So.
I talk a lot about like finding the right size, the right model for your business, aligning your business so that it really fits you and the way that you want to work and the size that you want to be and the things that you want to do. And that looks so different for people. And so for you, it was so important for you to get to this place where you could really step into the CEO role. And year one was really about like the foundations of the business, like really learning how to be a business owner. And year two has really been about learning how to be a leader and a CEO of this company and to grow and what that looks like. And that brings its own challenges, right? But I think that's so important for you. So because a lot of business owners really relate to that, and they may be in a position where they kind of have an idea that they would like to ultimately be the head of a company, a small company, right? So you can own a small business and have this like freedom and lifestyle and enjoy this and have the team and the company and the office space and all of these things that you've built, and other people that doesn't fit for them at all. So it's so important that you find what is the right sized business for you.
Yeah.
So like I said, I think that what you were saying a few minutes ago is all of the foundational, like really getting yourself into a position where you could see the business clearly and you felt comfortable with how you were operating it. And you were able to start to like get back more creative capacity by having some of these systems in place that were taking up so much of your time and energy. And then this year, things have really looked very different than what we expected, right? At the beginning of the year. So we had made those adjustments to the business. Things were going really well. Again, business was building. You were getting more of the clients that you really wanted to have. You had big plans for how things were going to look this year. And things didn't go exactly according to that plan. And they look a little bit different today than what you had in mind.
I think when you say I set big plans, I laugh because I'm like, I think that was more of a lesson after quarter one was apparently not big enough, because to be quite transparent, like we are a full service agency. And so we cannot promise that we're going to take on 100 clients. Like that's at least for this year, not the goal, maybe going who knows what's ahead. Now it's more likely based on the way that the team is structured. But in the beginning of the year, it was truly just me full time and then, a small team of content creators. And at the time I was like, okay, like we have 5 full-time clients or full service clients. This is a great space to be in. Okay, let's set goals for, 2022. How do you want to dream bigger? Let's double. Let's go from 5 to 10. Cool. That sounds ambitious enough. And after like month 2, going on month 3, I'm like, okay, I think we're about to hit this numeric goal of clients after 2 months into the year. And I was like, okay, I think I underestimated the capacity of the team, but also the demand of the industry and what we're actually capable of with the business. And again, in every season, there's a choice. Do you like stay comfortable and ride it out and then like, cool, we hit our goals. Now I can just move at a moderate pace. Or do you choose the other route where you're like, okay, back to the drawing board, let's double down on how do we grow this bigger? And I say with an eye roll because we know that that's the answer, but there's still a level of just like, it feels good to just be in a comfort zone just for a little bit. So I know what the right answer is, but let me just like entertain the first option. But yeah, and I think once we realized that, it was very much a oh shoot moment. I think I'm underestimating the potential of what this year can look like in terms of growth, expansion, reach, all of that. And really went back to the drawing board to really dream bigger, if you will, and really allow our goals to be in line with the potential capabilities of what we can achieve in 1 year. And also going back to even looking at our client base. Like we are very much a full service agency for both business owners. So you can have a coffee shop, you can have a nail salon, you could have a clothing store, or you could be a real estate professional. And what's funny is that when we started, it was definitely clients in all different industries. And the reality of it is that the biggest demand when it came from clients, it came from the real estate industry. And even in the beginning, and my loyal client knows this, like when she asked to take us on, when we started that partnership in servicing her and her business, I was like, look, I know nothing about social media, I know everything about social media. I don't know anything about real estate, but I love you. And I'm, game to just apply what I know and see how it impacts you and your business. And what's crazy is that there was a true moment where I almost didn't take her on as a client or continued it because I wasn't sure if I was the right person to really fulfill what she needed. But through relationship, I was like, but I'm invested in you. And as long as you believe that I can do it, then I'm like here for the long run. And she has to this day been my client since day one. And what's crazy is that everything that I've learned with her has ended up being the reason why the real estate industry represents the majority of our clientele. And like taking on her and having that runway of like 6 months before the boom of the real estate industry and building out your personal brand and maximizing social media to reach your clients like became a thing. It was like a godsend that I had this sacred moment just to work with her one-on-one before I was able to apply what I knew to the demand of this industry that was like calling our name left and right. And I'm like, okay, nothing's wasted. You never know why, an opportunity is given to you in the moment, but like, it's always hindsight's 2020. Cause now that I look back, I was like, that was the best decision I could have ever made, was sticking it through with her. That has allowed me to serve this specific industry so well now.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I hear in that is kind of 2 things. One, that you, with this one client, you really focused on being curious and committed to giving her the best experience that you could, right? So you were really in it to learn, what are the ways that I can represent her? What are the ways that we can partner together? And that is something then that you were able to replicate over and over again. Once you kind of figured out, and not replicate in a formulaic way, but replicate the ways that you can really deep dive into someone in this industry and the things, the nuances that you were able to learn about the industry that help you become more and more of an expert in that space. And so there were lots of things about that then that you could take that and turn it into another service, another client, another offering. And so that is one way that service providers can really grow their business very quickly, right? Is just by first focusing on that one client. Because if you can give this person a massive success, a great result, because you're so committed to figuring out all of the best ways to do something, then you've got the answers. Like, then you figure out how you can do that for more and more and more people. And that is what happened with you. And then the other thing that I heard in that too is really like allowing yourself to lean in to the success and the market opportunities that were there instead of running away from it. And so, like you were saying, you weren't sure at one point with her, and then you also weren't sure at another point, like, oh, is that a place we still want to keep going? And I remember that conversation too. And I was kind of pushing you to come to the decision of that. Because I was like, is this the industry that you want to serve? Is this the direction you want to go? Is this aligned with your original mission? And we really had to like dig deep. And you finally were like, yes, actually, this makes perfect sense. And I totally want to lean into it. And I want to do this amazing thing. And what I love about it is that it just was you're so focused on relationships. And that's always been like the center of what is important to you. And that's brought you through some really tough times. And it's also given you, it's like the springboard to everything that you end up building for your clients it's the relationship and it's the people first. And because of that, it's brought you tons of opportunities in the last year. And then when you took those opportunities and decided to like really lean into it, you actually created a service specifically for real estate agents. And like you were able to really parlay something that you're so good at in a very custom way and make it where it's applicable to people in a lot of different places and a lot of different areas. You now have a virtual service that you can offer that came out of that. So I'm reiterating this because I think just, service professionals listening, like this is such a brilliant way to really figure out how to scale your business, because it's one amazing thing that leads to so many other amazing things. And it was kind of a mix for you of an intentional strategic move and just like following things that come to you, like throwing it up in the air and being like, I don't know, let's try it and see. This kind of like experimental playfulness to go out and go after things. So that's, I mean, when I say, and you're right, I love that you noticed you started the year with what we were calling big plans. And that was a big question at the beginning of the year, right? How can I play bigger this year? And we really thought we had come up with a solid answer to that question. How can you play bigger this year? And you were like working on a couple different categories of projects. And when things started to really ramp up, and especially in the real estate space, but in a lot of other ways too, when things really started to ramp up for you, you had to like come back to the drawing board, like you said, and re-hone that focus and decide, what do we want to do here? Where do we want to go? And again, like that like pivotal conversation I remember where you're like, yes, I do want to do this, was you really saying, yes, I do want to increase our capacity by 4 times what we thought we were going to do this year. And how can we do that? And how can we think a little more strategically for that? And how are we able to still serve people at a high level by growing that quickly? And it's a big decision to make. And so, yeah, your big plans became quadruple the size this year.
Yes.
And I love that it all came out of this like very organic, just following the way that the business was showing you it wanted to flow. And then you being willing, instead of being so stuck on that original vision, you were really willing to just get in there and be like, okay, this is what's working. This is what we've got. This is where I think we want to go now. Let's do it. Let's try it and see where we can go. And I am so proud of you for being able to think in that capacity and really like totally getting outside of yourself in that, right? Because coming back to what you said a couple minutes ago, when you were in the place where everything felt so personal and so about you, it would feel impossible to 4 times what you were doing, right? So I love that you like really had that fortitude to step outside of the you and outside of the direction that you thought you were going into this new position and say, okay, what do we do with this? How do we take it and really run with that?
Yeah, I love that. And I think one thing that I'll say too, is like, I think if you know me personally, like my faith is a big component of who I am. And I think like, no matter how big my business grows and everything, like I'll always accredit everything that I do back to my faith, not as like a praise the Lord, he like blessed me. Like it's beyond that. But like for me, I've had to get to a place where I understand the purpose and why behind my business. Because yes, from a surface level, it's like awesome. I get to provide social media services to business owners looking to show up and win in the digital space. Clear mission, clear why, so clear. But I would say even to like any business owner who's in the service space is like, it is not business in itself is not for the faint of heart, but when you're in a service-based business, it is definitely not for the faint of heart because it's not just a product that you created, you're marketing, and it's like a transaction. Cool, they bought it, ship it. That's the transaction. It's like you're delivering on a service. And because we're humans, our emotions can be everywhere. One day we love the service, the next day we're questioning the service. One day we're expecting a lot, the next day we're not. And it's like, it's not just the service that we are managing, it's also the human relationships that we're managing as well, knowing that humans are just everywhere. And I think for me, like I had to get to a place where the human side of the humans that I was serving would not dictate my joy and my why for showing up. Because at the end of the day, I'm like, if I'm serving God, I'm serving people, and that's a great mandate on my life, then I'll give my excellence onto God, knowing that He is the one who's gifted me with different skills and talents. And if we're called to serve people, then I'm like, let me prioritize the people that I work with and that I get to serve. That's why we use the word serve so tangibly in all of our copy and our website and everything, is because I've had to view it. The best advice that I got was like, especially in businesses, if I view it as I'm showing up to serve people, then there's a humility that's attached to it, knowing like, hey, it's a service-based industry. I get it. Like, as humans, our needs change every day, but like at the core of it, let me try to connect with this client from a human to human perspective, knowing like, what are their dreams? What are their desires? What are their pain points? What are their limitations? And how do I get to serve, like show up and serve the areas that they, are limited in, or whatever that may be, knowing that if I can serve a gap that they have, then there's this like cohesive harmony in a relationship. And so it goes beyond like, cool, my service is ABCD. And when I show up, I'm going to do that. And once I'm done, I'm good. But it's like, it helps me to continue to foster like rich relationships where I truly care about your needs and serving them in the abilities that I'm able to, but knowing that like, hey, we're in this in the long run. Like if we're saying yes to partnering with you, which is why we're so selective with our clients that we work with, is because I get excited about starting a new relationship. And it's like when you're dating or assessing your potential person, like I'm not going to link my life to someone that I'm like unsure about, or like who is without vision, or is kind of like, if you're already feeling like red flags, like I'm probably not going to engage in that relationship, even if they're making a lot of money, or even if they're whatever. It's like, cool, at the end of the day, like, can I see myself attaching my life, even if it's a business sense, it's our life, attaching my life to what you're building? Because if it's a yes, then there's grand vision, and I like love your character and your values, and I can see us serving a real need, then let's link up and let's like make magic and make history and like link up together. But if it's already like, I know that there's a season in business that sometimes you just need clients and you're like, I'll take anyone who can work with me. And, you're quick to say yes to whatever. But my prayer for every business owner is that you can get over that hurdle so much quicker, because it's like, once you know your value, then you know the worth of like what you have to bring and the clients that you should be working with who also excite you and all of that. So that was a tangent, but I'm like, if that was like one advice to service-based businesses, is that it's not easy. So I see you, Lindsay sees you, but also it's like the art of just showing up for humans as we're serving humans and identifying with them in that way.
Yeah. And I think that really does speak to your values so much, just how you said it. And I think it's, from what I see anyway, I think it is one of the like magic things that you have brought to the table that has served you and the business over and over and over again, is to come at it from this perspective. Because we didn't even really get to talk about like becoming a CEO and working with clients at higher levels and trying different service packages and just all of like the trial and error and the hard stuff. But trust me when I say, like, I've been there. We did all of it, right? You did all.
Shed some tears. We shed some tears.
So what you've brought in terms of this like heart-centered, service-based approach has applied to people within your company, clients that you've worked with, partners, and people who've referred things to you in so many different ways that has really rang true. And I think I think you're right in saying like it's been one of the through line threads for you that has helped you come through some of the tougher things and tougher moments much faster than if you were not able to tap into that, if you were not seeing it in that way. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's very sage advice for entrepreneurs. One thing that I wanted to bring up too, as we wrap, is like you had a theme for this year, and it was this like vision of a rocket ship.
Yeah.
So I want to know, like, where's the rocket ship headed now? Where are you going with things, and how can people connect with you on this rocket ship journey?
Yes. So let me give you a backstory. So we in my community, we believe in declaring a word over your year of what you're expecting, whether it's like patience or growth or expansion, and like whatever you want to anchor your new year towards, knowing that that's where you want to work towards. And so I was like, let me apply the same principle, but to my business, but let me choose an emoji because I'm a visual learner. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to declare the rocket ship as my emoji. We're just going to take off. I don't know where it's taking off towards, but let's just anticipate some sort of a takeoff. But that's the why behind the rocket ship, or the story behind that. But in terms of where we're going, I mean, we are at a place where within our 2-year campaign, we officially announced that we're taking on 10 more clients. So we are making room for more, which means we're growing our content creative team. We are growing our in-house team to be able to supply the demand. But what that means as well is that we officially opened up our doors to take on 10 more clients. So we're making room for more. And to define more, that does mean local clients here in the Bay Area, but also for the first time, remote clients outside of the Bay Area as well, which has been very exciting. And so, yeah, that's what's coming up. So definitely connect with me if you are interested in our services, if you're interested in being a content creator with us, or if you want to also tune into our podcast that Lindsay helped jumpstart. We're also on Spotify and iTunes and all the social media channels as well. So thesocialparty.org is where you can find us.
Amazing. I love it. Yes. So you can work with Jo from anywhere, with the Social Party from anywhere. Definitely follow along on Instagram and TikTok because their content is just so fun and you'll get so many tips and ideas. The podcast is very specifically around marketing and really teaching some great concepts and tools for being a fun, enjoyable marketer and having a good experience with it. So yeah, you've got lots out there for people who just want to pay attention and follow along. But specifically, if you want to work with the Social Party, you can now do that from anywhere, which is very exciting.
Yes.
Awesome. Jo, thank you so much for being here. This has been so fun. I could talk with you forever.
I know. I love it.
And yeah, thanks for chatting.
Thanks for having me, Lindsay.
Do you love these weekly doses of insight and inspiration for your business? Then you gotta join me in the Maverick HQ. This is our listener library full of helpful tools to create clarity, spark creativity, and manage your time and energy like a boss. It's all inside the Maverick HQ, and it's totally free for you. Head to lindsaybrownson.com/Maverick to join me right now. I'll see you inside.